Now, a Hutch's weather update with Chief Meteorologist Hutch Johnson, brought to you by Robert Gibb and Sons.
Hello everybody, I'm meteorologist Hutch Johnson with an update on severe weather expected to develop later today as we cross into the 2 o'clock hour. The number one headline here is that the Storm Prediction Center has expanded the area of the level 3 risk today to include central parts of North Dakota. So for Minot, that's you. Bismarck, that's you. Pierce, South Dakota, that is you. The hazards remain the same. We're talking baseball-size hail, pardon me, maybe even a little larger, will be possible from storms that form today. Also, a risk for some gusty wind, over 80 miles per hour in a few spots. Here is the look at the expanded area. Now, it looks like we have an expansion out to the west as well. Pardon me. Frog in the throat. Excuse me. Okay, we'll give this a try here. The risk area has expanded into the central Dakotas, includes Minot and includes Bismarck. And again, we just said hail size upwards of baseballs may be larger. Tornadoes could be strong, so you'll want to review your safety precautions. These storms look to deteriorate quite rapidly as they move off points east. So if you're watching, give me a note. Let me know where you're watching from if you have a specific question. Will these storms impact the Red River Valley? The likelihood is yes, we're going to get some areas of storms and heavy rain. But with regards to exactly, here is an update for you folks who are watching. Let's take a look right now at the Storm Prediction Center's update. You're watching Hutch's Weather. I'm going to welcome on some more viewers from another platform right now.
Now, a Hutch's weather update with Chief Meteorologist Hutch Johnson, brought to you by Robert Gibb and Sons.
Hello, everybody. Meteorologist Hutch Johnson joining you. Have frog in the throat, so pardon me. Let me know where you're watching from. I appreciate you dropping in the comments. There's a headline here. There's an expansion of the aerial coverage of the level 3 risk today for severe weather. That expansion carries it into not Fargo or not Grand Forks, but the central part of the Dakotas. So for you, Minot, for you, Bismarck, and for you in Pierce, South Dakota, you are now in this enhanced area, an enhanced area of risk. The headlines will be hail, baseball size, maybe a little larger. We're talking huge hail potential with the lift in the atmosphere. We also have quite a bit of spin in the atmosphere, and if a tornado forms, it could be a strong one. So now is the time to review your tornado precautions. And today's storms could produce straight line wind gusts in excess of 80 miles per hour. Here's the latest on the aerial coverage of the risk area. Notice the expansion into Minot, Bismarck. If you are also out towards Velva and Towner, though the risk area is for you. Drake, McCluskey, Turtle Lake, all the way out through Washburn, Bismarck, Mandan, out to Sterling and parts of Kidder County. Mobridge, you're now also in that covered area for a level 3 risk, as is Pierce, South Dakota. Notice it goes all the way into western portions of Nebraska for the afternoon and evening today. There's where the storms are getting festered up out in the big sky country of Montana. Billings, you're in a slight risk area. That's what the yellow area is. And the storms, as they move to the east tonight, I do anticipate them to fairly quickly lose some of their energy as they work their way off to the east. Notice a very thin area of slight risk to the east of the Steele area. And then this green area is a level 1 risk, meaning a couple of storms may still have some punch and may flirt with severe criteria, but the chances are not the greatest for severe weather in eastern North Dakota. This event will take place as we go through the afternoon. Here is a quick look as I want to let you know I'm going to do a quick update on the forecast for this afternoon and evening to show you the progression of the storms as advertised by 2 models here. We'll get to that in a second. But first, here's a little bit of information on these risk levels. The green area, Fargo, Grand Forks, a lower risk of severe weather. We call it marginal because storms may or more likely may not reach severe criteria. And the number of storms that reach severe criteria will be significantly lower. In the yellow areas that we saw, portions of the central part of the Dakotas and all the way out to Billings, Montana, that's a slight risk. More numerous storms and stronger ones capable of 1 to 2 inch diameter hail today. Gusts to around 70 miles per hour for a few storms, and a tornado is possible and can't be ruled out. The level 3 scale, that's where we see much of the western Dakotas today and all of eastern Montana, do include the risks of stronger tornadoes. And as I mentioned, 3-inch baseball size hail or larger, as well as that potential for the strong tornado or two. Let's take a look at some of these risks from the Storm Prediction Center. Then we'll go to the forecast. And again, we'll take a look at the Storm Prediction Center's designated areas of concern for these different types of severe weather. We'll start with the tornadoes so that you can get the latest on that. The tornado risk is greatest where you see the brown colors here, and that's in the western Dakotas, northeast Montana. So Plentywood, Glendive, Sidney, Montana, you are all in the risk, as are my relatives in the Wolf Point area of Montana. There's Brockton, there's Culbertson, also near Poplar, and up north into Plentywood as well. So keep this in mind. Now, in parts of North Dakota, Williston, straight down to Dickinson, and notice that risk for tornadoes today crosses through Morton County here. So if you're in Glen Olin or New Salem, Sioux, you'll have a better chance at seeing those than we will in Bismarck, but the chance in Bismarck is also enhanced today with a 2% risk in the green areas and a 5% risk. So I want you to take a measured approach to looking at this content here and make sure you understand that the risk of tornadoes is still low. We're talking 2 and 5%, and tornadoes impact small areas, but the ingredients are there for tornadoes, and they could be strong ones, particularly in the areas that you see here in the brown. Those extend all the way down into the Valentine, Nebraska area of northern parts of Nebraska, Gordon, Porcupine, and also much of the sand hills in Nebraska. And I'm hoping, Hannah, too, the tornadoes stay away from Watford City. You are in McKenzie County, right in the middle of the tornado risk. Now let's look at that hail risk. These hailstones are going to be very damaging. So you got to remember there's a lot of crops out here in northeast Montana that are susceptible to this. Hailstorms, this damage along with the straight line winds can lay a crop down fairly quickly. Let's take a look at the risk of wind first, damaging straight line winds. Where you see this hatched area, there is an elevated risk of gusty winds that will approach 80 miles per hour. Billings is included in that. Storms are just moving into your area at Billings West High School. Now, as you move on in towards the Glendive area and in towards Bismarck, that risk does continue as well. The Black Hills of South Dakota, all the way through much of the Badlands, through Wall, South Dakota, and into Pierre, that is also in your area. And it does include portions we're looking at that wind risk here. The hatched area is a significant risk of very strong winds. Thank you for the stars. Thank you for your support. And go ahead and share with people this update. Go ahead and tag their name in the comments here, because this is some important information. Plan for battening down the hatches now. So when you get home, do things like secure the lawn furniture. The winds will likely come from the west or southwest with these straight line winds with the storms. So you can do things to protect from those winds. And if you have a trampoline in the backyard, I've seen those puppies fly to the next county and roll completely down the roads. So secure stuff around the house from these windy thunderstorms tonight. Don't park your tree under things like huge tree branches. Don't seek shelter from the rain under big trees. That's the advice when it comes to these windy storms. Notice how the wind threat does drop off, but it does go into Fargo, and the storms that are late tonight and overnight could be still windy. That will be the main threat for us in the eastern third of North Dakota. Will the Red Hawks play tonight? I think, there's a very good chance, we'll show you the radar here, Vicki, that the games get on. These severe storms will not make their way in or interfere with the weather at all tonight during game time. It's going to be very late and overnight before the storms reach Fargo. That's an answer to your question, and that's why I love Hutch's weather, because I can directly allow you to ask questions, and then I can do the best I can if I see those questions to answer. Now, let's look at that hail threat, because you're going to see more hatched area here, more red. And this area, the oil patch, McKenzie County, Williston, Glendive, Montana, Sidney, Montana, all the way up towards what looks like Roundup, not far from Roundup, and Circle, Montana, if you're out there in Jordan, Montana. I mean, these are some pretty remote parts of Montana with a lot of cropland out there, including Wolf Point, Glasgow, all the way into near my Minot. Now, the red area and the hatched area. Notice Minot, you're in the hatched area. Bismarck is in the hatched area for huge hail. This is where the risk is greatest, where you see the red, then the yellow as well. But the hatched area means the storms could be capable of some ginormous, as some people like to say, monster hail. And it's not pulling your chain here. This could be some big time hailstorms. When I was working in the Bismarck area, I recall a storm that hit Galva, 4-inch plus diameter hail. And that's not good on the livestock. I know that storm wasn't. We received pictures out there of that. So these storms can be very damaging to crops and hail. All modes of severe weather, as you see here, will be on the docket. Now, let's take a look at some model guidance and give you an idea of timing of these storms. Linda, thank you for your support of stars. The model guidance here is going to show you the evolution of the storms beginning about now. And then let's take a look, too, as I zoom in. I want to zoom in on our area only, so give me a minute. And I appreciate your grace and understanding, because Hutch's weather is real time, and I show you more than one model for a reason, because many times more than one of these models can be pretty accurate. And not any model that I've ever used consistently, time after time, gets the forecast for where storms form and when they form exactly right consistently. That doesn't happen. So here we go. You're looking at the time frame on Thursday. Let me make sure I'm on. Yep, this is I'm going to upload a more recent model here. Let's go newer if we can. Okay, so here we go. We're rolling up through the timing of these models, and we'll get to the most recent one that we can. Okay, so this one is mainly in. Now, we do have rain showers here. This is not severe weather. This could affect the Red Hawks game with a few sprinkles, but not gully washers here. The heaviest is down where we just don't need no more rain. We're talking central and eastern portions of east central South Dakota towards Sioux Falls, Sioux City, where the flooding has been ridiculous. Rainfall amounts here, though, might be 1/10 of an inch to 2/10 of an inch. So that's the good news with that. Watch the low pressure, the L, stapled in Montana, not far from you in Baker, not far from you in Ekalaka, or formerly known as Joe, Montana. These storms fire up. Here you go. 2300, subtract your 5. This is 1800. This is 5 to 6 p.m. They're rocking through Glendive, Montana, and heading towards Sydney, heading toward the oil patch. Notice a batch of storms moving through Glasgow. And anybody out at the lake there in the big reservoir, Fort Peck, I've been there water skiing and fishing many times, and I'll tell you, these storms will be nasty, so make sure you batten down the hatches there as well. Wind and very heavy rain and winds possible. Look how these advance quickly from the border counties near Medora, Beach, Webo, Montana, as well as you folks in Watford City. Here's when you can expect the storms to move through. This is 6 to 7 p.m. Windy, possible tornadoes, and huge hail potential. These storms start to line up and gang up on all of western North Dakota. Look at what's going on. Isolated storms through eastern, central and western, South Dakota as we go through the evening hours. Now you're looking at 10 at night. 3Z. This is 10 o'clock at night, approaching Bismarck. Backwards C shape here tells Hutch gusty straight line winds are in order. So the time frame is still the same as yesterday, and the models have consistency. I like to see that. That gives me confidence. Down along the southern edge of the storms is typically where we see the most robust severe threat for hail and even tornadoes. But along these gusty edges, we're talking about tornado force winds tonight. 80 miles per hour is nothing to sneeze at. Here they go. Storms spread into the valley here by the time it's, well, this is midnight, okay? So 00 hours, that's midnight. First thing on your Friday morning. Your baseball game at the Red Hawks is done then. We'll have some showers and thunderstorms. Here's the leading edge of the windy. And for our viewers in Devil's Lake and in the Towner County area, and if you are anywhere from, say, Medina, Cleveland, Tappan, down in towards Mobridge, South Dakota, the windy thunderstorms will be the main threat as we head into the late hours. Now, as we look at 1 to 2 in the morning, they're moving through Fargo-Moorhead, Grand Forks, and pushing into western Minnesota. The risk of severe here is low. It's not zero, but it is low. So it's going to be late night here in the valley, and then it's outie. It's gone. That's Model 1. I'm going to show you Model 2. Before that, though, I do want to show you where we're looking at some severe weather potential. How about that tornado index? I want to make sure you're aware what you're looking at here. This does not mean tornadoes are absolutely going to happen, but it's where the ingredients for tornadoes are going to be the most elevated as we go through the evening and 10 o'clock. Notice this area right here, a few tornadoes, and there is spin in the atmosphere. The spin is greatest where we see the red and orange colors here. So remember I was saying, as that line forms down on the south side, that's where the chances are greatest. So western North Dakota, eastern Montana, and all the way up, particularly when forms really first get going, that's when we typically see the greatest chance. Look at Pierre, South Dakota, heading in toward the dinner hour and beyond. So this threat, the tornado threat, does appear to wane as we go in towards daybreak. So that's why we say not a great risk of tornadoes as we go into the eastern third of the Dakotas heading into your overnight. Now we're going to look at that lift in the atmosphere, and this is where it gets a little bit on the ridiculous side with these storms. Right now they're forming out near Billings. As these storms move into this air, there's going to be enhanced amounts of energy in the atmosphere to cause lift. The faster we lift the air, the bigger the hailstones it can hold up. So we're talking not just pea-size hail. Some may see pea-size hail from these storms as they're going through their life cycle, but we're talking monster-sized hail. Over 3 inches in diameter will be possible. So again, it's a great time to make sure you have a spot for the car in the garage this evening. This is going to be happening as we go through the evening dinner time hour in northeast parts of Montana, eastern Montana, and western North Dakota. Where you see the reds here, you're looking at lift in the atmosphere and energy in the atmosphere to cause great lift. And that great lift in the red is where we could see some ginormous hail. Look what crosses right through Bismarck, Mandan here. This is at 10 o'clock. And the last 2 days, multiple model runs have timed this out about 10 o'clock for Bismarck, maybe a little before. Keep that in mind if you are in the capital city. Notice the farther north you go, that hail risk seems to drop down. As the storms move into the eastern Dakotas after midnight, the chance of hail drops down significantly. It's not zero, but it does drop down. That is a look at that model. I will pull up one more model. Let's pull up this one here. I haven't looked at this one in a hot minute, so we'll just give it a little bit of time here and make sure I'm on the most recent run. You're looking at the energy and the lift, where the hail potential is greatest in storms. Notice things get fired off through the dinner hour, western North Dakota, eastern Montana, all the way into central parts of the Badlands near Pierre, South Dakota. That's where the lift is great, and it shuts down on this particular model as we go towards daybreak. No change there. Let's take a look at that tornado parameter with this model, just see if there's any kind of consistency here. And we do see, again, along the southern leading edge of the storms that formed this evening dinner time. So here, anywhere in eastern Montana and western North Dakota, down towards places like Gulva, Bowman, Beach, Medora, down south into Hettinger, Lemon, South Dakota, and straight down into the state capital, Pierre. That's where the spin is greatest. That shuts down as we get after midnight. That's a look at the parameters. Let's take a look at the future radar with this to show the evolution, whether it's similar or different than the other model. Here's our showers tonight moving through. Huge Boeing line segment. If this happens, if this model's right, we're going to have one heck of a windstorm making its way through. Very strong and damaging straight line winds and very large hail. This would be from McKenzie County through the oil patch, northeast Montana. If you're in Brockton, if you're in Plentywood, if you're in Freud, if you are up in towards Bowbells and Crosby, very windy thunderstorms could be on the way to you. And again, no model, not one of these models is going to be 100% accurate with depicting exactly where an individual thunderstorm forms. That's why it's important. If storms form in your area, just find out where they are. Check your latest resources to get the latest on whether or not they're severe or not. Timing. Approaching 10 o'clock, and it's moving through New Salem, Sioux right there, and heading towards the Mandan and Bismarck area, city and capital of North Dakota. These storms are going to be less numerous across South Dakota, according to both models, more isolated in nature, but that means all of the energy down there goes into those few storms, so they could be fairly potent, all the way down into the sandhills of Nebraska. Look what rocks out of the Black Hills and in towards north central parts of Nebraska in the models as well. Okay, timing for the Jamestown area, still potentially severe. Jamestown on up into the Devil's Lake Basin, mainly gusty winds from the west-southwest. Same thing for the Jamestown area, and these storms really lose their punch, but are not going to be not a factor in the valley. We could still see the potential for, as I showed earlier, gusty straight-line winds and some hail. but not nearly the size of hail, nor hopefully the strength of wind that our neighbors to the west will see. Hi, Brenda. I'm looking for questions now, looking on the other platforms. Thanks so much for joining me. That's your update. Please share this if you don't mind with folks so they know what's going on tonight. We have a risk of severe weather that has expanded. In conclusion, that expansion does include our western counties and the Jamestown area and the Devil's Lake Basin. We'll go back to the look at the risk levels are at level 3 of level 5. Widespread storms tonight, very large hail, damaging straight-line winds, possibly a strong tornado, and a look at the radar imagery showing storms are firing right now out near Billings in Roundup, Montana. The colors you're looking at here, I'm going to change this just simply to the risk areas tonight. So here is our risk of severe weather for our day today. It includes Billings, Miles City, my friends in Glendive, Montana, out towards Sydney, Webo, that is, Beach, the oil patch of North Dakota, this orange area that you see here. There is now a severe thunderstorm watch that's just been issued for Montana for the storms, even during this broadcast. Severe thunderstorm watch for Glendive, severe thunderstorm watch for Miles City and Billings, Montana. Taking you into Roundup here, you see a heater out there with the pink. That's some significant hail just to the north of town. These storms are going to form near you, and the threat is going to exit your area fairly quickly, and then move into this enhanced area where you see here. So again, this area is under a thunderstorm watch, not a tornado watch. Some of the storms that form a little bit later, closer to the dinner hour as they approach the state line with the Dakotas, will have a risk of seeing some spin in those storms. We'll keep you updated right here. You're watching Hutch's Weather. Stay tuned tonight. Stay safe, stay weather aware, and I appreciate your support of both me and my fine sponsors.